Hi everyone, welcome. I was down here in my wormery a short while ago tending to some other worms, and when I walked past my two newest systems here, these two systems here with the African nightcrawlers in them have only been in service for 9 days, and we checked in here only 5 days ago to give them their first feeding on day 4. And I don't know, like even yesterday I thought I smelled something, but today I smelled something even more distinct. And it's a familiar smell that I don't smell too often, but I am familiar with it. And I believe that what I smelled was dead worms, so I did actually take a quick peek under the plastic and pulled up some of the bedding material in here. And what I saw didn't look too good. I think I saw quite a number of dead worms, hardly any movement. So I figured it would be probably a very good idea to come down here and figure out what's going on with these little guys. I mean, when I moved them out of their old environment, I did hang on to the bedding that I had used when I set up horizontal migration feeding zones to lure them out of their old finished castings. And that stuff's been set aside in these 2 containers over here. So I figured maybe the stuff that I removed them from, the stuff that they were quite happy to be in when I had laid it out in their old environment to round them up, might be the trick to giving them a place to retreat to in their new home. Some material that's not going to give them problems. I don't even know what the real issue is, but I want to get a glove on. I want to get those 2 systems up on the bench, and I want to see if we can help these little guys. So let's get to work. I really hope this is not a too little too late sort of a situation here. When we came in here 5 days ago to give them their first feeding, the system was 4 days old at that time, and I could see some worms like in between the bubbles of this bubble wrap, but they're not moving. They're kind of unresponsive. And the way we decided to feed was to simply lay the foods out onto the surface, because I've been having pretty good luck in some of my systems feeding on the surface that way. So I don't know if that could have possibly contributed to what we're seeing here. I could see some mold that started growing here. There was bread placed into both of these systems. You could see the mold on the bread, and the mold that I see growing nearby seems to have possibly started with the bread. So whatever, we're not here to inspect the foods. I want to see if we can dig down into these systems and figure out if we've got a recoverable situation here. Hopefully we do. And I guess my idea was to possibly not even continue with this surface feeding situation. Maybe submerge the foods like I usually do. So I've simply pulled things aside, and I'm already spotting some more deceased worms over here. There's another one right there, it seems. I don't see any movement, you know. Let's just... this does not look good. And it does not smell good either. I don't think we've got a snowball's chance in hell of finding a living worm in here. I thought I saw something moving, but it does not seem to be the case. Oh my goodness, this is horrible. Well, I don't know what I did here, but I definitely screwed up. I can't imagine what could have happened. I had prepared a whole bunch of bedding for these. I was about to call it wonderful bedding, but who knows, maybe the bedding is what did them in. I prepared all this bedding not even weeks ago, months ago. Something like 2.5 months ago, I prepared a whole bunch of cardboard and paper bedding, threw some leaves in there and some moisture. And you know, I'm so stupid. I should have seen the writing on the wall, because every time I tried to get these worms to settle down into their space, they just refused to. They would just keep cruising the surface. From time to time I would find them out on the even climbing up the walls of the bin. Since the bin is dry, they climb up a little bit and sense that things are really dry and they would just drop right back down into the bin. I don't know if anyone's got some ideas. Could it have something to do with the way I added all that food onto the top surface? I mean, these little guys were very restless from day one. They just did not want to be in this stuff. Most of the time when I release worms into fresh new bedding, they seem quite fine and they're, you know, a-okay with just diving down into what I've prepared for them. But maybe this stuff had something in it that just wasn't agreeing with the worms. I mean, I'm over here in bin number 2, and I seriously doubt that there's any chance of seeing even one surviving worm in here. I mean, I guess to a slight degree, it's fortunate that I'm not having to deal with a really horrible stench. And I know that's kind of selfish for me to be thinking that way, right? I mean, not even sure what to do with this material. If it's problematic, I don't even know if it's a good idea to like dump it into my outdoor compost barrel. I mean, perhaps if it's out on the surface, it's, you know, not going to cause any worms any harm. But I mean, I can't see keeping this stuff down here. It's just going to stink up a storm, and it's not going to be of any use to anybody. I mean, perhaps these foods we tried feeding could be placed into my compost barrel, but I do need to, I guess I need to be suspicious of the bedding material, because the worms were, you know, refusing to climb down into the stuff. I think I might have even tried stirring the worms down into the material. I'm sure they were just really quick just to climb out of this stuff and exit it. And I probably should have known better. I should have been able to read the writing on the wall. I really thought that I'd be able to come in here and find at least some pockets of worms that had managed to survive this, and that we'd be able to create a little bit of a haven for them to retreat into. But I think I'm losing hope quickly here. Just based on what we saw over in bin number 2, I seriously doubt we're going to see any movement over here in bin number 1. I wish I knew what had caused this. I mean, there's nothing out of the ordinary as far as I could tell with regards to the bedding I prepared for them. These are the unfortunate African nightcrawlers that I received from Gaetano at Northeast Worms. I don't even know how long it's been now, perhaps a year and a half or something like that. And I started out with a fairly small population, and then I kind of grew them up to the point where I felt we had enough to launch 2 systems. And everything was just fine until I moved them out of their old castings into here, and this was their doom, it seems. Well, my guess is that there's still going to be some stragglers left behind in that old batch of castings I showed you in the beginning, the material from which these poor worms were extracted. And at some point I'm going to have to start rounding up those last few survivors, and luckily there are some survivors that I'll be able to hopefully restore my African nightcrawler population with. But I think that this is a lost cause, regrettably. I don't see any movement. Nothing at all. Well, usually my videos are kind of upbeat, and it's not too often that I have these sort of situations go on, but it has happened in the past. And I would say that most worm farmers will tell you that it does happen from time to time. But I really didn't see that. I didn't see it coming. I'm kind of taken aback by this. So I've got some cleaning up to do here. Most likely going to haul this stuff outside. I really don't know what to make of this material or if I can even trust it. That's why I'm very reluctant to put this stuff into my compost barrel outside. Perhaps I'll just use an old grow bag and just dump this stuff in there, and maybe some mites will come through, or some other sort of cleanup crew will get rid of the worm carcasses, and then maybe there's some useful place that I can put this bedding material if it doesn't seem like it's going to cause more problems. And these food, I don't know, this food, it's probably fair to guess that this food's not going to cause a problem if I place it into my compost barrel outside. That's probably what I'll do with this. So I don't think there's much left here to go on about. I think we're just going to leave it at that. If anyone's got any ideas, I definitely look forward to hearing feedback. Please leave me a message. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment. And I guess rest in peace, African nightcrawlers. Sorry, Gaetano. I did my best to take good care of the worms you hooked me up with. Felt to me like we were doing good, building up their numbers, but it seems like we're going to have a little bit of a recovery of the population following this. So I'll have to get back into those finished castings and start rounding up the stragglers and see what we're left with in terms of survivors. So that's it, everyone. I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you for watching. Leave me a thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm not sure what I deserve for this one, but I'll leave it up to you guys. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Hopefully your worm bins are doing well, better than this. Take care. Bye now.